It's a cold Sunday in November, the first snowfall of the year. The Grey Cup is a week away, and most football teams in Canada have put away their equipment until June. But what is going on at Lansdowne Park this afternoon is a different brand of Canadian football. The Ottawa Bootleggers, Canada's only semi-pro football team, is the brainchild of two local ex-university players who never found a place for themselves in the Canadian Football League. Heading into the first game of the playoffs against the Marlborough, Massachusetts Shamrocks, the Bootleggers have made news across North America by being the only undefeated semi-pro football team on the continent. They are ranked #1 in just their second year of existence. For this group of athletes, there is no money to be made by winning, and for most, there is no possibility of a future in professional football. Just the glory from the cheering of the dedicated fans who come out to Lansdowne to see the city's winningest football team. As Canadians, the Bootleggers have always been looked upon as underdogs, playing four-down football and facing all-American opponents. Mike White, the ex-Laurier University player and ex-Waterloo coach who co-founded the Bootleggers, scoffs at those who doubted he could put together a competitive team of Canadians.
You know, I knew I could field a team from the guys here. I mean, from the area, I grew up here, coached a lot of the guys, and it just took a couple of phone calls. The average Canadian thinks anytime you come up against the Americans, you're going to lose because they're just so powerful and they're that much smarter and that much organized. It's a load of crap. It just, they package things better, they sell themselves better, and they hype themselves better. Entertainment-wise or talent-wise, they're no better than us at all.
In this first game of the playoffs, the Bootleggers jump out to an early lead, as has become their trademark. Former University of Toronto quarterback Rod Moores hits ex-Ottawa Sooners star Jamie Straw for the game's first touchdown. Straw wasn't good enough to make the Ottawa Rough Riders in his tryout with them. Like so many Canadian football stars, his career was over before his prime. But Straw has found a home as the fan favorite with the Bootleggers.
I'm really more a friend of the crowd, like the semi-pro team, the Bootleggers. People that come out to watch our games are friends, you know, friends of myself, friends of friends that are friends of mine. As far as playing professional, I think it's probably pretty easy to get lost in the turmoil of it all. And, you know, who knows Jamie Straw, you know, when he's in the CFL. But here, they know me, so I'm from the hometown, and it's fine.
A lot of the Bootleggers have either played with or tried out for CFL teams, only to be turned away for one reason or another. The CFL requires each team to carry only a minimum number of Canadians on its roster. The rest of the lineups are filled by import Americans who are generally regarded as better trained athletes. They come from some of the top college football programs in America. Shane Ireland played with both the Ottawa Rough Riders and the Montreal Alouettes before finding a home with the Bootleggers. Like most of the Bootleggers, the hard-hitting linebacker grew up in Ottawa and played with some of the city's local amateur teams. And also, like most of the players, he is happy just to have a place to play competitive football in Canada.
There's a lot of good football players around, and they finish playing junior ball or college or pro or whatnot, and they just pack it in. They either play touch football, and I know Ottawa has a big touch football program here, but there's a lot of room for, you know, contact football, and it seems that the guys want to play it. And I think at places like Montreal and Toronto, it's the same situation as Ottawa. There's a lot of football players hanging around.
For many of the Bootleggers, the forming of the team was more of a reunion than a meeting. Ottawa is a strong grassroots football town. In the amateur ranks, the city boasts 2 university teams at Carleton and the University of Ottawa, a successful junior program with the Ottawa Sooners, 35 high school teams in the area, and 20 other minor teams. Tight end Gord Hudson says the fact that many of the team's players had been together before contributes to the overall success of the team.
You know, everybody knows everybody on this team, and some people have had a shot, some people are not going to have to play in the pros. But right now that doesn't matter anymore. You know, we're just here and we all get along. We all have a good time off the field as well as on the field. So I think that's all in all is what goes on in this team.
The team was born in Ottawa in 1988 when the Ottawa Rough Riders were at their lowest both on and off the field. The Riders hadn't had a winning season in years, and the fans were getting fed up. Rider administration didn't know what to think of the Bootleggers at the time and seemed to view the team as a threat. a view present-day general manager Joanne Pollock chooses to oppose.
And what happened is the administration overreacted and just sort of sat back and started to act as though, oh, well, my goodness, we're afraid of this, and you know, let's ignore the bootleggers and almost don't say the B word. And that's just childish, you know. I mean, we're a professional sport, and we're supposed to be able to stand up to anything that's thrown at us.
White said that the bootleggers tried to put the fun back into football.
In order to go to any kind of event, whether it's arts or sports or, you know, movie, whatever, it has to be fun. And I think football wasn't fun for a while. You know, it was just either too serious, too life and death, whether the teams themselves were taking themselves too seriously or the fans were, you know, hey, I've just paid $18 and did I have fun? No. So we just tried to put the fun back into it where, you know, it was sort of something to go to the game.
Pollock admits that the Riders were beaten to the punch a few times before her arrival on the scene in the winter of 1988-89. The Bootleggers have become known for such promotional ideas as renaming Lansdowne Park Death Valley Stadium and having specialty games such as Elvis Night or Unpaid Parking Ticket Night. 73-year-old Pearl Fleming was a runner-up in the 1988 Miss Grey Cup contest, but this year the Bootleggers crowned her Queen of Football and Miss Ottawa Bootlegger. Each game she leads the crowd in song for the third quarter stretch.
They're a great team. I think they play blood and guts. Real football, that's what I like.
Pollock is not too proud to admit that the Riders have actually followed the Bootleggers in terms of marketing.
I mean, I remember when I sat at the Grey Cup game in '88, and I'll never forget this. And I was sitting there, and actually, because they had offered me this job the night before that game, so my mind was in a mess. And I'm sitting there, and I'm really disappointed that the Rough Riders aren't selling any season tickets during the Grey Cup. And sure enough, down comes a pamphlet passed down through the stands, and there it is, buy Bootlegger season tickets. And I thought, these guys aren't missing any opportunities. A lot of the strategy that we took last year, as far as our marketing campaign, really we took a page out of the Bootleggers book. The Bootleggers marketing was fun, and it was imaginative and creative, and it didn't follow any one set plan.
On the field, the Bootleggers are pulling away from the Shamrocks in what was a tight game through 3 quarters. White has prided himself on his team's rough style of play that never lets up.
He's gonna burn you, Seven. He's gonna burn you. He's gonna burn you like you did before, buddy. Hey, Toast. Come on, Jamie. You got him one-on-one, buddy. Burn his ass. Burn his ass. Burn him. Yeah. Burn his ass. Attaboy, Jamie. Attaboy, Jamie. He can't stop you.
White argues that the American style of football is more attractive to fans because the smaller field means a tougher, rougher game.
The American rules, I think it's a little more pure. You know, there's less motion. Things are a little more, it's more like a chess game. It's less like a, you know, a jacks game. You know, everything's always constant motion. So when the CFL is on, when there's a good game, when it's on, it's very exciting. But I think overall, I think you'll see a more hard-hitting, hard-nosed style game in the American game than you will in the Canadian game.
With the Shamrocks disposed of, the Ottawa Bootleggers start to concentrate on their next enemy, the Brooklyn Mariners, all the way from New York City. But the victory for the Bootleggers also means 5 more nights of practice and 5 more nights that the players won't get home until 10 in the evening. Anyone driving by the Terry Fox Center on this night might mistake the Bootleggers for a bunch of kids who don't know it's past their bedtime. But this ragtag group is deadly serious about a national championship, serious enough to practice after their day jobs until 9 p.m. on an ice-covered field before heading inside to view game films of the Brooklyn team. The temperature on this night is about as low as the profile of most of these players' careers. Only a lonely dog is interested enough to see what the Bootleggers are up to. As a veteran of the Canadian Football League's glory days, General Manager Alex Saunders understands their spirit.
Underneath, I'd like to call it a kind of patriotism, and people don't like to talk about that too much these days, but I will. And I think there's a good, solid ingredient of patriotism behind what these guys are doing. They love it, they love the game, and they just love what they're doing.
Unlike many other recreational sports, football is a rough game. The Bootleggers, unlike pro athletes, have to work other jobs not just in the off-season, but during the season. Linebacker Paul Brown is a special education teacher at St. Mark's School in Manotick and also a separate school trustee. The graduate of Simon Fraser University, who couldn't make the CFL, says playing football doesn't bother his professional career.
It's great being able to, to have the, again, to have your profession, whatever it may be, and also have the whole, stay involved in athletics and staying active.
And does Brown's intimidating presence on the football field get carried with him into the classroom?
I guess when one thinks of a linebacker, they think of someone who's always got a perpetual frown on or snarl on, I should say, and I don't think that's the way I come across. But again, people are surprised because again, once the helmets go on, then you have to put on a different kind of face. And
as a co-founder of the team, former general manager Jeff Morris was not surprised at the numbers of Ottawa area players willing to commit to a 5-month season.
I'm not surprised, because if you love the game, you love the game. I mean, I played for 3 years, and I didn't get anything out of it other than just the fun and satisfaction of it. And some guys are looking for another shot, and if you don't like the way it is and you don't want to play, then, hey, there's 3 other guys waiting to fill your spot. So.
Another icy day at Lansdowne. The Bootleggers' battle with adversity never seems to end. A hearty crowd turns out to cheer the Boots towards a berth in what is being called the National Title Bowl game the following week. If the Bootleggers win, the game will be held at Lansdowne Park. Brooklyn seems to have trouble coping with the icy conditions that Canada has greeted them with. One of the biggest attractions of the Bootleggers has been their bridging of the gap between the fans and players. Unlike so many of the sports heroes of today, all of the Bootleggers live locally and are approachable to most fans.
A lot of local players, ex-Sooners, ex-Carleton, ex-Ottawa U. You can identify with them.
The team feels it can better identify with the fans because of their Ottawa flavor, even if they aren't always the best of role models. The appeal of the Bootleggers again fills a void left by the CFL. Fans like this one have had trouble identifying with the CFL's players who change from game to game.
I've been a season ticket holder for the Riders now for 15 years. I don't know half the players on the team. I used to know all the players, plus all the players on the other teams. It's a little difficult. There are too many changes.
White agrees that the Bootleggers have put consistency back into the player roster and have helped fans grow to support their own.
People, I think, and I think the organization as a whole believes that people want to go out and watch their own play against someone else's own. They don't want to see someone from East-West Missouri State come up here for 4 months out of the year and then be gone, or for 4 games out of the year and be gone. So I think people want to see continuity.
But Polek disagrees. While she agrees there is an important element in players living in Ottawa and staying around long enough to identify with fans, she belittles the Canadian content argument.
We've got a young fellow on our team now named Tyrone Thurman, and I mean the kids love him. They love him, he's Pee Wee Thurman. They love him because he's 5'2", 135 pounds, and can grab a punt, and he returns a punt 91 yards for a touchdown right through the legs of these big guys. The kids love him, the fans love him, they chant Pee Wee, Pee Wee, and they don't care of the fact that he's from Texas and not from here. We also have a young fellow who's here now, Ken Avrere. He grew up here in Ottawa, and he's from Ottawa, and no matter how much we tell people, people don't know that.
Back on the field, the Bootleggers are socking it to the Mariners. It is the team's 13th consecutive victory of the season. Brooklyn player Connell Johnson, a graduate of an American university program, was impressed and surprised by the Bootleggers' brand of football.
I was sort of surprised. I thought it was one of those wild, free shootout type games, but they played just like us, and I was impressed with the way the Bootleggers played, and I want to wish them the best of luck. And like I said, there's no difference. You know, they play just like how we play in America: rough, tough, hard, aggressive, and nothing fancy.
If there has been any one criticism of the Bootleggers, it is that too many of their games have been blowouts by halftime, with the Bootleggers winning in a romp. White explains that as an independent team, the Bootleggers can schedule their own games and try to bring the best opponents into Lansdowne. But he also gives credit to his team.
Also, I think a lot of teams aren't ready for us when they come here, because there's a juggernaut of real serious people on the football field when the whistle goes, and people aren't ready when they come here to play us. They get shocked. In the first quarter, or the beginning of the second quarter, we usually just blow people out of the game, and then they sit there in shock, and we don't let up. We keep going and going and going.
But are the Bootleggers an Ottawa phenomena or the beginning of a trend? Bootlegger co-founder Jeff Morris is now one of 9 members on the board of directors for the Montreal Voyageurs, who will enter next season a semi-pro team in the Empire Football League.
Well, there is a team being put into Montreal right now called the Montreal Voyageurs, and there has been talk of putting a team in the Windsor area, the talk of team putting a Toronto area. There's been some interest in Vancouver. There's been some interest in Halifax. Every one of those cities is an ideal location. I don't know about the East Coast because the proximity to other U.S. teams isn't that good, but you know, again, it's a needed thing.
Polak is skeptical about the possibility of semi-pro success across the country.
I mean, so winning and losing has more to do with sports than anything else, and I think the fact that the Bootleggers have been so successful and have won so many games is a real drawing card to the fans. But if you get a semi-pro team in Saskatoon or in Calgary and they go, you know, they have the same win-loss record that the Rough Riders did, you wouldn't see the same kind of success that you do here.
Before the final game, the Mariners file a protest that the Bootleggers wore illegal spikes in their shoes to help their traction and even watered the field before the game to hurt Brooklyn's chances. By Thursday before the Title Bowl game, the commissioner rules in favor of Ottawa, and the game will take place at Lansdowne against the Racine, Wisconsin Raiders, the defending national champions. The weather for the December 6th final is the harshest of the season. A bone-chilling -17 degrees Celsius registers on the scoreboard clock at Lansdowne. The game was held up trying to get the 8,000 fans into the park. In a throwback to an era gone by, the Raiders won't leave their locker rooms until they have the money for their travel expenses given to them by the Bootleggers. The conditions for this game are as bad as any football player has ever had to play in. Both teams have trouble competing against the elements. The Raiders go ahead in the fourth quarter on a pass by quarterback Charlie Bliss, and the Boots are down to their last chance. With the elements and the clock going against them, the Bootleggers need a miracle to engineer a successful final drive. 6 months of practice has come down to a 1-minute battle with Mother Nature for Bootlegger quarterback Rod Moores and his teammates. Moore's last desperate attempt dies, and Racine are national champions. And nationalism was not a forgotten issue in this battle. What does this mean for next year, and how tough will it be for the Bootleggers to get up for another season like this one?
I talked to Tim McGowan one day. I said, Tim, you coming back next year? And at first, he wasn't going to come back. And then he said, yeah, I'm going to come back because we lost the championship. And then 2 seconds later, he said, you know what, Straw? I said, what? He goes, if we had won the national championship, he would have come back next year to defend it. You know, all of us are doing it for the love of the game, and you won't get rid of any of us until we physically cannot play it anymore.
Their second season completed, the Bootleggers plan to professionalize the team's front office and polish their off-the-field image. The team has grown faster than either White or Morris originally expected, and at times the confusion of running a football team was too much for just two men.
But it started out as a hobby and it grew into too much of that, and now the team has a board of directors in place and everything, and that's what it needs. It's too big for a couple of guys to do as a hobby. It's just too much.
New head coach Greg Marshall will replace Mike White, who moves to team president.
Well, Mike and I have different personalities, obviously, but I'm not going to try to take away from what the Bootleggers have established the last 2 years, and that's, you know, be rough and tough and be ready to play when it's time to play, and when it's not time to play, they have a good time, and that's what we want to continue this year.
But can the Bootleggers change the team without losing the simple character that the fans have grown to love? General Manager Alex Saunders insists that what the fans see on the field will not change.
And this is a players' team, and that's been a theme throughout the whole restructure. Behind the green doors, the boardroom, it's real serious business, but we'll get fun out of doing it the right way. But out on the field, no, same guys doing the same thing, their style. It's a players' game, and that's the way we want to keep it.
Next season will prove whether the extended bureaucracy of the silver and black affects the simplicity of the Bootleggers' character, a type of character that is all too rare in sport today.